away, Steve.
Great, thank you, everybody. My name again is Steve Sabo, and my company name is Sabo Financial Group. Funny story, if you've ever been to a party and somebody says, hey, what do you do? And you say, I sell life insurance. You can just hear it go. There's not one word after that. Not even like, well, how's that working out for you? But I mean, it is kind of funny. I don't choose to say that, but I've been there. On the health insurance, I'm going to talk about life and health, but it's more just going to be a conversation, so ask questions if anything comes up. But health insurance, March 31 is the open enrollment deadline. That just means we need to have paperwork into the company by that day for anybody who wishes to have coverage for this year, who doesn't currently have coverage. If you get it in before the 31st, you'll have coverage for May 1st with the company you're choosing. If you choose to not have that and you don't have any other insurance, then you have to wait till November for a January start next year. Now there are some ways around that. There's what's called qualifying events. So qualifying event is Allison has insurance, but she gets that letter that says, as of June 1st, your insurance is going away. And you have 60 days to get that together. So that's a qualifying event. If somebody gets married, you have a qualifying event. If somebody gets divorced, it's a qualifying event. If you have a baby, qualifying event. I'm sure there's a couple more, but you get the idea. There's some big life things that can happen. Will allow
I think if you die, it's qualified.
If you die, people that are kind of close to you will have a qualifying event.
Continue with the premium kind of.
How long do you have from your qualifying event to enroll?
What's that now?
How long do you have from your qualifying event?
Don't mess around.
Okay, so if my divorce is filed on June 20th,
Oh, yeah.
how long do I
Sure. Put it this way, if we were to do something by the end of July, I don't see any issues. You don't have to jump on it that week. And I don't know what the writing says, but I'm sure it's just reasonable time. Yeah. On life insurance, let's think about what that is. You could either own it or you could rent it. And just like with a home, if you own it, you're going to earn some equity. Your money is going to create value, but it may cost more on a monthly basis. If you rent it, it's going to be less expensive. You're not going to earn any equity. It's going to be there. Your home's going to be there for you. But then after that term lease is up, you're out on the street again shopping for another term insurance policy. So when a need for life insurance is identified, we first find out if you want to own it or rent it, what's the time frame. If somebody says, I want it to make sure it pays my family or my grandchildren or somebody if I live to be 95 years old, well, then we have to go with some sort of a permanent plan. But there are hybrids now where you can get the less expensive insurance on a guarantee for the rest of your life. So there's new products that are coming out to address some of those needs. Let's see.
What do you use the most of? Is it
Well, term
side?
insurance is what people want. People want some cheap coverage and invest the difference. Yeah, so term insurance is definitely where most of our sales are.
Do you believe the saying of, insurance makes a terrible investment and investments make a terrible insurance?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so that's why you need both. Yeah. So I had a couple questions. These questions are going to pay off with a little Starbucks. So in the health insurance world, this is about health insurance policies. Many insurance plans today are HMOs. What does HMO stand for?
Health maintenance organization.
Bingo.
Happen to know because Karen worked for Kaiser Permanente.
By the way, family and members of organizations are not.
That's right. Just like the radio. Just like the tablet.
What does this stand for?
health maintenance organization. Okay, many health policies require the patient to pay an initial amount of their own bills before the insurance company begins paying. What
Deductible.
I just described.
Deductible.
Okay.
You already won.
Stand down, listener.
Oh, my address, my answer.
Oh, I forgot to say you can only win once. Okay,
Wouldn't that
we'll go on
also
to the next
technically be
one.
a copay as well?
How about this one? Most traditional, Jim,
I'm ready.
most traditional policies pay a percentage of the facility or the doctor's charge and leave a smaller percentage to be paid by the patient.
Co-payment.
Co-insurance, I heard it right over here.
Boom, Starbucks.
Yeah. Who got the second?
Nobody.
Nobody, we had
Blurred it.
to toss that. There was
Oh.
contention. Right, well. Let's see, are there any questions so far?
Talk about HMOs a little bit, would you?
Well, that's-
And how they're distinct from traditional
Well,
insurance policies.
HMOs originally came about because they did work on the preventive side as a key to their, that's why it's called a health maintenance organization. So, but now that is our standard. So everything that we're, pretty much everything that we're selling in the state of Colorado now is an HMO. Kaiser and Anthem and United are the biggies, but Kaiser and Anthem are the biggies on the individual side.
Can you talk about the penalties, and have you done an analysis for, say, someone in their 20s, and whether it's worth it to basically suck it up and pay the penalty, plus the insurance later?
Have you watched the news in the last week? I mean, because all this stuff is changing all the time. The newest thing is that the penalties might just be delayed. I mean, and
Well,
nobody really knows how all this is gonna pan out. The one from 2 weeks ago was that we were given, the United States from the White House was given the okay to keep their insurance, even though we were told we all had to get rid of it by the end of this year. So now the insurance companies and all the state insurance commissions are determining if they can make that happen. And so there's still no word from on high from each of the companies how they're going to deal with that. But it's very possible that the big crisis of this year is going to be averted for another 1 to 2 years.
And they extend did they extend the individual mandate past the November 2014 election?
Well, what they did is, as of, I think it was within the last week or the last few days, they're just getting rid of the penalty.
Oh, which,
Yeah. Or they're not,
nice to be improved.
they're not going to enforce the penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still on the books. Paul.
So there was obvious implementation problems and now ongoing administrative problems with the program. But do you think, as a principal, it's a better road that we're going down than where we were? Or?
Oh, I don't know. That's not for me to say.
Political question.
Steve just sells the insurance.
I just saw
Well, from the inside, I mean, you know where the insurance was, and you know where it's supposed to go.
You haven't been hanging around my office for the past 5 years, have you?
So,
It's a woo.
Okay.
Sometimes we
So
like
it's
it,
not-
sometimes we don't.
no, there's no black and white, it's a lot of gray.
No.
Okay.
At what point now does does an employer pick up the responsibility for the health insurance? I mean.
Only if they choose to, but 50 or more, they have to.
Okay.
50 or more employees. Yeah.
To be eligible for the subsidy, do they look at total income or taxable income?
Adjusted gross.
Adjusted gross.
So you gross after expenses. Right. And that's something that can be pretty, you can work that any way you want,
Well, if you're self-employed.
if you're self-employed.
Right,
So
Alicia?
that's another reason they're self-employed.
It's just going, well, you can't.
When somebody's, 67, whatever, and on Medicaid, Medicare, excuse me, thank you, Medicare, I know that feeling, it's a very good deal. Is there any better ways to go?
Medicare is actually pretty good compared to the rest of the world.
Talk about senior advantage plans a little bit. They're
Senior
still out
Advantage
there.
plans, I shy away from them personally,
Why?
because I just feel that part of the Affordable Care Act is going to be attacking them in particular to the tune of $800 billion.
Uh-huh.
What that means is there's going to be less reimbursement to the physicians. When it comes time to renew contracts, a physician that was earning $60 for an office visit when he really wants $160, now if he's told he's going to get 35, or she, they're just going to say, you know what, forget it. I just have a feeling that if this continues, except for a Kaiser, which Kaiser controls their situation.
Can you spell silver tsunami? There's been a big pushback from elders about that whole senior advantage program, and so it probably
It's
is
going
going
to
to.
be losing carriers, losing physicians.
So, I think, not that many people are really familiar with HMOs, but my experience has been spectacular. And Kaiser in particular, everybody who is a part of the Kaiser organization works for Kaiser. They're an employee of Kaiser, which gives Kaiser a great deal of control over the quality of medical care that they provide and also the cost of that medical care. And I'll just say I've been very pleased. So if you guys have not ever worked with an HMO, you shouldn't be frightened of it. That tends to work a lot better. And the other thing is they have a long-running electronic medical record. So from my cell phone, I can call and test results or, schedule doctor's visits and things like that. Now, they had that well before the Affordable Care Act as part of the requirements under HIPAA. But, yeah, I think HMOs are a good thing.
Now, we love Kaiser.
I think they're actually the wave of the now,
Well, they are. There are no such thing as PPOs
Yeah.
in individual market anymore.
But there are still doctors out there in individual practice, and if you're in Medicare or Medicaid, you can go see them.
Correct.
Except they don't talk to each other to get your medical records to be shared by another doctor is wait 3 weeks to get paper copies printed out and then hand carry them to that other doctor.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of administrative problems that are being worked out right now. What do they call that? Back channel and front channel, the whole system.
I think the initial fear with the HMOs is that care would be withheld, and that has not proven to be the case. Yeah.
Well, I guess my problem with the HMO thing is that originally it was, or at least the care that I got from Kaiser was not, it was more about how to shove you off and tell you to go home, as opposed to actually directing you to actually getting the problem fixed.
I think you'll find that's
Kaiser
different now.
underwent major upgrades, like 2003, 2004, because they were embedded in a bunch of lawsuits that I personally worked on.
I think you'll find things have
and
changed.
It was a personal thing.
Terrible.
Barry?
When I was looking at
Millions of
the
personal things.
marketplace around the new year, it seemed that the plans were rather limited. Have they expanded at all and diversified more, or?
Well, bottom line is, worst case scenario, 6,350 per person. That's worst case. And so that was always the worst case. It's still the worst case.
Does that include your
Everything.
deductible and your premiums,
And
assuming you're eligible?
Not your premiums,
For
your
the-
deductibles, your co-insurance, your co-pays, anything you must pay.
Is that on the bronze plan?
That's the worst case.
Yeah.
And,
That's bad worst case.
yeah, but that's
case.
not so bad.
What
I
was the
mean, it's
number?
not like you have to walk into a physician's office or a hospital with your checkbook.
Right.
You know,
It just, I just remember looking at the plans and being a little shocked that there weren't that many plans, and they seemed a little restrictive. And
So now-
my plan that I got through you was far better than what I was able to find through the
Correct.
marketplace.
So let me just say this, that there are some companies that aren't they're not publicizing it, but there are some HSA plans that have the lower deductibles, and they're sticking to it. So you can still get a 3,000 worst case out-of-pocket plan and so forth. where a lot of the anthems and so forth, they don't do that. Yeah. So now I've got a couple, for my closing. This has nothing to do with health or life insurance, but it does have to do with insurance. So some people insure parts of their body. So Mariah Carey, any idea
Legs.
how much? Good one, good one. And how much do you think Mariah Carey insures her legs for?
6 million.
10 million.
10 million
100 million.
apiece. $1 billion.
$1 billion.
What?
$1 billion legs.
Really?
$1 billion legs, right. Wow. So David
I see
Beckham.
that.
And she gets to wear those shoes?
Yeah.
Who
I mean, I'll bet
With
you-
the
Like,
shoes?
not walking around in a
She must have gotten a good
Getting off
leg.
He's like-
the yachts?
A leg.
So David Beckham also insures his legs. Any thoughts on what his legs are worth?
Not that much.
Not that much.
50 years ago.
About $1.50.
But even today, he's insuring them for $35 million per leg.
Per leg.
So you have to lose your leg in order to collect?
Do you what?
You have to lose your leg in order to
I'm not asking questions.
What's that?
I'm sure there's a lot of fine print in the contract. Yeah.
What are they insuring it for?
Mingled?
We're not looking at the contracts, we're just having fun with this. Okay, and here's the one that has a prize for it. Dolly Parton.
The boots.
Dolly Parton definitely insures her boobs. Now, here, whoever is closest,
Are you saying she does do that?
I'm telling you she does,
$1
yes.
billion.
How much does she insure her boobs?
150 million.
$1 billion each.
$10 billion I'm worth every penny.
Now,
I haven't heard anything that's even in the realm.
3 million.
Trillion?
Guys, come on, somebody give me something between $1 billion and $1 million.
50 million.
500 million.
300.
250
250 what?
million.
25.
250,000.
2,500,000.
Dana's the winner. 600,000.
That's all?
She clearly has self-esteem.
One each, all together.
I think she must have purchased.
Why
that
does she
in 60s.
bother?
Or each or together.
Oh, no, that's together. 300 each.
Well,
What is it called?
Steve,
So
for bringing us that.
Yeah, nuggets.